So today, lads, we're going to be talking about Aliyah Boston and some of the stuff that Stephanie White has said about Aliyah Boston, and this is exactly what you want to hear. Genuinely, it is what you want to hear from Stephanie White and the way that she is going to play. Because, I'm sorry, the one thing that I have always said about Aliyah Boston is that she is the highest IQ center in the WNBA, and that I thought she was terrible to start last season. I did not think she was going to fit with Caitlin Clark, to the extent where I actually said earlier on in the year, like, they have to choose to play either to Aliyah Boston's strengths or Caitlin's strengths. But by right before the All-Star break, it turned out that, Aliyah Boston adapted her game so that she began to thrive off Caitlin's strengths and Caitlin's gravity. If you guys agree with all that, subscribe. We are trying to hit 45,000 subscribers by the start of the season. So we have 1 month exactly to get 700 subscribers. It's going to be a tricky one, but I think we can do it. We've 1 month exactly for that. But yeah, so anyway, we're going to be talking about this right here. And this is what Stephanie White had to say about Aliyah Boston on a podcast she did on Goodfollow. And obviously go take a watch at that.
Facilitator as well from that post position. So we're going to use her a little bit more like a hub, right? Like a little bit more like a JOKIC in how she gets the ball, and whether that's, in the trail, in a lot of our stuff in flow, or whether that's on the block. I don't want her to have to work as hard, like one-on-one. I don't want her to have to just, pound and body and dribble in a one-on-one situation.
Thank you. Using Aliyah's strengths. And whatever about what her strengths were at South Carolina, what her strengths were on a terrible Fever team. We can be honest here. Your strengths on a good team and your strengths on a bad team are two very different things. But you want to know what her strengths are for this Indiana Fever team right now, a good Indiana Fever team. That is her biggest asset, is how smart Aliyah is. She's able to make really good reads. She's a good passer. She sees the floor better than any big. And yeah, like, she's not Jokic-esque. I would say Sarah Strong is more Jokic-esque than anything in UConn. But as far as current WNBA player is concerned, like, you've got the closest thing to Jokic is Aliyah Boston. Someone saying she's getting less minutes. She's about to take the next step to all WNBA. And that's going to be an interesting thing, because it all depends on how they, like, what they talk about, well, how they judge all WNBA. Because the reality is that I think she's going to have a much better season. The team is going to be much better. However, I genuinely have a feeling that her stats are going to be down. Like, I can see her averaging 12 points per game, because I do think the pick and roll is going to be run quite a bit with Natasha Howard as the role person. And I think that it's going to be an awful lot of, as I've said plenty of times, and I'm like, when you look at this Fever team, you can't run through Kelsey Mitchell, Natasha Howard, or DeWanna Bonner. You can run to them. They can get the ball and they can finish the offensive plays. They're really good at that. But the two players you have to run through are Caitlin Clark and Aliyah Boston. Yet to see with Sophie Cunningham, I don't think so much. Even a Sydney Colson to an extent. But the two players you run through, like, I think there has to be some sort of a Clark. And she's talking about as well, Aliyah Boston getting the ball on the trail. So if you're wondering what that means likely, or what that means her being a facilitator on the trail, is you're looking almost like a Draymond type situation, where I'm guessing this is going to be a lot more when Caitlin's off the floor, when they're going to have offensive sets to get the bigs the ball at that 3-point line and allows them to make a decision, whether that be taking someone off the dribble. And while Aliyah Boston doesn't have the quick footwork, what is more than likely going to happen is she's going to see some form of a cutter, whether it be on the strong side or the weak side. Well, if you're in the middle, there's actually no strong side or weak side. Seeing some form of a cut that she's trying to hit, and if there's nothing on the cut, more than likely it's going to be pound into, or dribble into a handoff, then into kind of a pick and roll. You're going to see that type of you're more than likely going to see a lot more of those type of actions from Aliyah Boston, a lot more handoffs. And the thing with Aliyah Boston off the handoff is that she's such a good passer, so that when she does dribble at the player, they can make a choice to go backdoor. They can make a choice to come off the handoff. And regardless of what they do, Aliyah's going to make the right reads more than often. And also because there are going to be players so dangerous off that handoff, if her player jumps up, she's going to go to the basket. And I'm just going to show you guys what I mean by that, like something similar. So I want to see if I can get the clip right here of Aliyah Boston against the Atlanta Dream hitting the game-tying shot. So this right here, she did it against the Connecticut Sun as well. Just a play like this that I really, really liked from Aliyah. Was this the right play? No, sorry. The one to give them the lead was a hook. Where was it? There was one to send it to overtime, and I can't find it. Because I think it was that game. But there was one game, she did it against the Sun, but she just missed. And it was literally like, it was this fake handoff. There we go. This is what I'm going to be showing you guys right here. I was looking for it there. So what ends up happening in this possession here is the ball is in currently, I think whose hands it in? Caitlin's. Ball goes to Aliyah. And you can run that same action. They ran a very similar action in the Connecticut Sun game. Aliyah just blew the open layup, where the ball got set to Aliyah. Caitlin came off the curl. So on this, like the outcome is the same, whether or not it's a pass or whether it's a pass into a pitch handoff or whether it's a dribble towards whether Aliyah had the ball, dribbling it towards Caitlin for Caitlin to come off. It's the same outcome no matter what. But if you look at how she has to be defended here, so you're looking, all of the defensive gravity is going towards Caitlin. And there's going to be maybe not quite the same gravity towards Caitlin. I think it's extremely dumb what they did because Caitlin does not like shooting going right. But when it's a tie game, or when you're up 2, you can't give up the 3. Whether that's DeWanna Bonner, whether that's Kelsey Mitchell, or Caitlin, this defender cannot just hug Aliyah Boston. They cannot just wait back here. They have to play up, especially when you're in Jordan Canada's position, where if you kind of wait down as the defender, Jordan Canada, if she plays behind, Caitlin can curl. If she goes under, it's a open 3 for a Caitlin. So defender has to help up, which allows Aliyah Boston to make the perfect read, which she did. Fake the handoff, boom, go to the basket, easy layup. Exactly. She did it earlier on in the season, but she missed. Her confidence was up late on in the season. And that's the thing when it comes to the 2-man game. The 2-man game is so different when you've got 2 people that can both, 2 creators. And the funniest thing is with Aliyah Boston is if you look at how she was in her rookie year, if you look at how she was in South Carolina, what she did really well was she did really well passing at the post, but her face-up game wasn't quite there, wasn't nearly where it was by the end of the season, especially the start of that second season. She had no face-up game, no real jump shot. It was genuinely, she did not look like a starting caliber center for a stage in the WNBA. And I'm going to be, or a stage in her second season. But I'm going to be honest, like by the end of the season, what she was doing was incredible. And that is the exact way that you need to run the show through her. And it makes them so much more dangerous, like they were when they played essentially the Caitlin Clark system. When they played sides ball, which was give it to Kelsey Mitchell and stand there and watch her, nothing worked. But when they played the Caitlin Clark system, which was, in fairness, you could argue the freaking Aliyah system as well, you have to pick your poison. And what a lot of teams are going to do is they're going to leave Aliyah Boston for those kind of floatery shots that she shoots a little bit outside the key. And even if she doesn't, a little bit in from the free throw line, even if she doesn't take that step in terms of her tangible things, like in terms of her actual skills from year 2 to year 3, because I don't see that happening from what we've looked at. It doesn't seem, from workouts, from what we saw in Arrival, doesn't seem like there's that next step being taken. But it doesn't really matter because she's the best facilitating big in the league. And when you've got a super facilitating point guard as well, and while you're on the floor, you have got 3+ players that can't be helped off, it allows Aliyah Boston then to start going one-on-one. Maybe she doesn't have to start banging the post, but it's going to be easier situations. If teams start switching, she can punish that. She can let the game come to her. And if they run through Aliyah Boston, man, this line, like, it is so, so difficult to guard a team that runs through a big. Just like in Nikola Jokic, these type of bigs are so important in basketball, especially for offense, and especially if you want spacing, because again, she's not much of a shooter. A lot of the time there aren't that many good big shooters. But you don't need to be a shooter if the ball's in your hands. If you surround these non-shooters with 5 guards and shooters, and no matter what lineup they run, they can run without Caitlin Clark on the floor through Aliyah Boston, because they don't have anyone else to run through. They have a lot of people to run to and not run through. And you could see that point center role being something that she makes her own in the WNBA. Because I think as a back to the basket player, I don't rate her that highly. I just don't. We saw it Unrivaled. I think she's a pretty decent defender. She's undersized, very undersized for center at 6'3". I don't care what she's listed at. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Really good to hear Stephanie White saying that. And from last season, we need more paint touches, to this season, we need her getting the ball. We need to run through her. We need her getting it on the trail. We need to basically use her like a JOKIC as a facilitator. From Christie's sides to this is just... it's crazy. And this is the way Aliyah Boston should be used, because at this point in time, it is the way Aliyah Boston is going to become a all WNBA player in a modern system, rather than going back to what worked 25 years ago in basketball. Back down bigs with non-shooters everywhere. If you want something like that, go to the Dallas Wings. Go to the Atlanta Dream. Go to a team that has no chance of winning, because all the good teams in this league have space. They have spacing. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. I'll see you guys.